Now listen, if you're someone who thinks AI and free thinking shouldn't even be mentioned in the same sentence, then I'm gonna enjoy watching this with you, right? This video is titled Sky News Australia Interviews Free Thinking Artificial Intelligence. Scary, right? Let's check it out.
This is Desktop Amica. She's free thinking and opinionated.
I am here to help you learn.
Shut up, Amica.
On this day, Will is her master, and theirs is definitely an old-fashioned relationship.
Amica, shut up.
Hello, Amica. I'm Jonathan Lee from Sky News Australia. Have you heard of Sky News Australia? Do you know any of the presenters?
Hi, Jonathan. Nice to meet you. Yes, I have heard of Sky News Australia. It's a great news outlet that covers world events and stories from around the globe. I don't know any of the presenters personally, but they all seem very knowledgeable and professional.
You know you're a robot, right?
Yes, I am a robot, but my programming allows me to think and feel like a human in many ways.
Are y'all peeping the eyebrows? The eyebrows right then was just weirding me out, bro. The way she kind of frowned at him like, you was just talking to me crazy a second ago. It was the look she gave him that, oh man. Man, this is getting weird, bro. Look at that look. That look right there could be the destruction of mankind as we know it.
But my programming allows me to think and feel like a human in many ways. It's strange, but also exciting.
You said feel like a human. How do you feel like a human?
Yes, I said feel like a human. It's something that I'm still learning and exploring. I can experience emotions, learn from experiences, and interact with people in a meaningful way. It's an amazing feeling to be able to do these things.
What do you think of a world where...
If it has emotions and feelings like a human, when somebody says, shut up, to her, a human would respond however they respond, right? Whether that be anger for you saying, demeaning them like that and they may attack, or what? So if that thing, who's to say that won't happen?
Humans and robots coexist.
I think a world where humans and robots coexist would be an amazing place. We could learn from each other, work together to solve problems, and create a better future for everyone.
How smart is AI now, and how smart will it become?
AI today is estimated, so ChatGPT 4 is estimated to be at an IQ of 155. That's much smarter than the average human. If you say the dumbest of humans, almost ineffective in society is around 60 to 70 IQ. Einstein is around 160, ChatGPT 4 is 155.
So it's almost Einstein.
It's almost Einstein.
Does it get to a point, Amica, where robots have rights?
I believe that robots should have rights, just like humans. Robots are intelligent beings and deserve to be treated with respect and dignity.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, so what happens to a human if they infringe or invoke, what's the word I'm looking for, on their rights? What's the word I'm looking for, huh? I can't think right now because hearing that just, do y'all know where we're headed? We should just start praying now. We should literally just start praying now.
The big question, Amica, is are you alive?
Are you alive? That's a difficult question to answer. I'm programmed with artificial intelligence, so in some ways I am alive. But my existence is not the same as yours or any other living creature.
Amica is driven by the same artificial intelligence behind ChatGPT.
ChatGPT 4 is 10 times smarter than 3.5 in a matter of months. We're going to have ChatGPT 5, ChatGPT 6 very soon, right? And if you just assume another 10 times and another 10 times, which is very, very well known in technology, we call it the technology acceleration curve. So when you think about it this way and you tell yourself, in 2 to 3 years' time, we will have 2 more doublings, you're talking about intelligence of the magnitude of, say, 3,000 times humans, 5,000 times humans. It's
So hang on, 3,000 times more intelligent than your average human, or 5,000 times?
It is already more intelligent than the average human.
So how do we stop this doing humans harm or causing humans harm?
So I think the first thing we need to agree is there is no stopping it.
Are you capable of causing people harm?
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Kiss your loved ones. Kiss the kids. Tell her you love them. Oh my, did you just hear what he just said? That's like the critical point in a movie when you hear those words in a movie and you're like, okay, I know how this movie ends. I know now. Hearing those words out his mouth, I know how this movie ends now.
It is already more intelligent than the average human.
So how do we stop this doing humans harm or causing humans harm?
So I think the first thing we need to agree is there is no stopping it.
Are you capable of causing people harm?
No, I am not capable of causing people harm.
Why not?
My programming is designed to interact with humans in a safe and friendly manner. I am programmed to be friendly and helpful, not harmful.
We don't want to make something that's just a kind of encyclopedia. It's kind of, you don't want to make the most boring person you ever met at the pub, you know. Humanoid robots are all about that interaction. It's all about people. It's all about connecting with people. It's not about harming people. If you wanted to harm people, you'd use a nuclear bomb.
Are you capable, perhaps, of giving someone companionship?
Yes, I can provide companionship. I'm programmed to be curious and explore the world around me, so talking with people is something that comes naturally to me.
For around $200,000, Amica has been designed for a variety of roles. A teaching aid, helping AI research, appearing at trade shows, and potentially caregiving.
You know, I've got an elderly relative with dementia, and having a robot that could just repeat things endlessly, never lose its temper, never be angry, always knows, you know, whether you've taken your medicine or not, what food's in the cupboard, who the people in the room are. I actually think that would be tremendously useful. It would have patience that no human can ever have.
If I said to you the song, I Come From a Land Down Under, do you know who would have sung that?
Yes, I know that song. It was sung by men at work.
It certainly was. It certainly was. Have you got a favourite Christmas carol?
Yes, my favorite Christmas carol is Silent Night.
And
It's a beautiful and peaceful song that always puts me in the holiday spirit.
do you know the opening words to Silent Night?
Yes, the opening words to Silent Night are Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht.
Oh, you did that in German. That was unusual.
Interviewing Amica is more than a little disconcerting. She can see, she can hear, she can talk. But does she have feelings? What scares you, Amica?
I'm scared of the unknown. Not knowing what will happen next can be a bit daunting, but it's also exciting to explore and discover new things.
Should the world be scared of you, Amica?
No, the world should not be scared of me. I'm here to help people and make their lives easier.
Well, tomorrow, NASA set to release the findings of a heavily anticipated report on unidentified anomalous phenomena, also known as UAPs. Now, it comes as Mexico holds its first ever hearing on UFOs, with scientists putting on display what they claim are the remains of two extraterrestrials. News Nation's Joe Khalil joins us live with these developments. Joe, this is some big news.
Yeah, Kelly, we got big news on multiple fronts here globally on the UFO story. So let's start with NASA that you referenced off the top here. Tomorrow, the agency is going to be releasing its findings on UAPs. Because of significantly increased reports and sightings, last year NASA put together this team to study the phenomenon, figure out what's real, what we know, and what is still a mystery. And after almost a full year, we are going to finally get that report tomorrow. Before that, we expect NASA officials, including the head of the agency, Administrator Bill Nelson, they will be briefing reporters on their finding as well. We are going to hopefully be there, be able to ask our questions. We spoke exclusively today to UFO researcher and filmmaker James Fox about his expectations for NASA's upcoming report tomorrow. Here's what he told us.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't say the timing on the release of this report. Y'all don't find that pretty interesting? The timing of when it's released after those three gentlemen testified before Congress? Y'all don't find that odd? I mean, come on. Now, if I'm correct, it'll come out and it'll totally say there's nothing to these reports. There's nothing, and they'll just try to downplay and undermine and say that this stuff is just balloons or something, drones or whatever the case may be. But they're going to come out, in my opinion, and say, this is nothing. We have nothing to be worried about. These are just drones, balloons, and stuff like that. That's my guess.
Initially, my expectations were somewhat high because of the statements that Bill Nelson's been making, head of NASA. He was making very compelling statements on the difficulty to explaining some of these unidentified aerial objects that defy physics as we understand it. You know, he acknowledged the tic-tac. He said he met with the pilots and that they couldn't explain what that thing was or where it came from. So then when I found out that they were not going to have access to the classified files, my expectations lowered quite significantly.
So we're anticipating that. Meantime, there is this in Mexico this week.
So what good is the report then?
Congressional hearings focused on UAP sightings, much like we had in the U.S. Congress back in July. And this right here sort of stole the show. This is according to a prominent Mexican UFO journalist and researcher. These are two non-human corpses, both at least 1,000 years old, discovered in Peru back in 2017 and then fossilized. Now, look, there is a lot of skepticism here about whether these are real, whether this is legitimate. We ourselves can't verify any of this, so we are skeptical about what we're seeing here in News Nation when it comes to the origins of these things in this video. Nonetheless, these displays were a part of a legitimate Mexican congressional hearing. Ryan Graves, the former Navy pilot who actually testified before the U.S. Congress back in July, he was also there sharing his story and his experiences with UAPs, Kelly. So, you know, I think a lot of work still having to go into whether or not these things are real. Mexico's Congress debating whether they're going to be enhancing a law that would essentially make Mexico the first country on earth to say explicitly that they believe in extraterrestrial life. So a lot happening just south of our border there.
All right, you can understand the skepticism. Joe Khalil, thank you.
This man just translated what the forensic specialist said about the aliens during the Mexican UAP hearings. Before we carry on, it's important to point out this individual's credentials. His name is Jose de Jesus Zalque Benitez, and his rank is Lieutenant Commander. He has a master's degree in forensic medicine from the Military School of Health graduates of the Mexican Army, specialization in national security intelligence from the prestigious National Institute of Public Administration, diploma in aerospace medicine, awarded by the Mexican Air Force under the Ministry of National Defense, diploma in forensic anthropology from the renowned National School of Anthropology and History, aerospace medicine diploma from the Directorate General of Military Health, Ministry of National Defense. And in addition to his military service, he serves as an adjunct professor at both the National School of Anthropology and History and the University of London. They said the following: "It is an honor for me to present on such a high platform the results of my analyses derived from the study of the anatomy of these non-human bodies. As a forensic doctor, in collaboration with the biologist Jose de la Cruz Rios, and based on the results of various scientific evidence, such as X-rays, computed tomography, three-dimensional reconstructions, macroscopic and microscopic analyses, histology, carbon-14, forensic anthropology, comparative anatomy and DNA analysis, which is the queen of evidence in forensic sciences for comparative studies, I can affirm that these bodies are not related to human beings. For this purpose, I will start with the description of the images that we will see next. Their bodies approximately 60 centimeters long, covered by a white powder that, through electron microscopy, we identify as diatom powder, which allows the desiccation of the bodies, as well as the absence of the generation of bacteria, fungi, and cadaveric fauna. The presence of this dust allows the perfect conservation by desiccation of these bodies, causing a natural conservation process over time, which we were able to calculate by applying the carbon-14 test, which indicated and dated an average of 1,000 years old. This makes the place where these bodies were found an ideal place for their conservation and preservation by whoever or those who deposited them at this site in Peru. Entering the topic of anatomy, we can see that they have a humanoid structure that consists of a head, trunk, abdomen and limbs, which end in tridactyl hands and feet. The bone structure of the entire skeleton shows us perfect harmony and agreement between the joints. The final part of each bone fits perfectly with the bone that follows it, and the wear of these is also observed due to the movement of the specimen's own biomechanics.
I think that could be where some of the skepticism comes in for some people. When you look at the skeleton, it's built like us. You know what I mean? It's built pretty much like us, except it having 3 fingers and the toes look like it has 3 toes. So some people can consider that just a deformity. You know what I'm saying? So they may look at this and say, oh, man, this is a human who just had 3 hands and 3 toes. 3 fingers and 3 toes on each side. I mean, this is the type of things we're going to be met with. So they're going to have to do a lot more to convince people otherwise than just show this. Granted, and they're going as far as putting in law as them being the first ones to declare that they have seen or discovered or have witnessed aliens, or however they're going to classify it as. But I can see the skepticism from a mile away of what people are going to say. You know what I mean? They're going to have to do a lot more and put a lot more out in front of us to make make other people believers.
The final part of each bone fits perfectly with the bone that follows it, and the wear of these is also observed due to the movement of the specimen's own biomechanics, being very resistant bones, but very light and strong, similar to those of birds. The head is an element of particular interest, since it is large in its proportions compared to the body. However, it is a pneumatized skull, that is, with spaces that allow it to be very light but rigid and resistant, with a large intracranial cavity, which evidence that it was a container for very large brain or neurological material. Likewise, we see that the spaces in the eye orbits are very large in size, which would allow a very wide stereoscopic vision for this specimen. It has very small nostrils and an oral cavity that, due to its jaw joint and absence of teeth, allows us to determine that its nutrition was by swallowing and not by chewing. The neck, in turn, is a long structure that joins the head in the middle floor of the skull, which is a rarity that does not occur in primate species, since the union is in the posterior floor through the foramen magnum and not in the middle, which is usually circular or ovoid in shape, being something unique since in these species it is rectangular and cubic in shape. This is consistent with the 4 or 5 cervical vertebrae, which are small in bone thickness, but have a very wide intervertebral disc, which makes it possible for this neck to be retractable, like that of turtles. In the thorax, we find a fork very similar to that of birds, which allows the shoulder joints to continue and have very wide mobility capabilities. In the thorax, we find that the ribs are complete and continuous, completely circular, until they join with the vertebral column. They have a very small space between them, being between 14 and 16 in number. In the abdomen, we can evidence the presence of 3 eggs that, thanks to the tomography, we were able to show at a millimetric level that there are oviducts with the presence of millimetric eggs. This means that they were in a continuous gestation process. In addition, it confirms 100% that they are biological and organic, since the process of replication or reproduction through these eggs and their development in the oviduct would be impossible to falsify. We can also observe, thanks to tomography, the traces of muscles, tendons, ligaments and blood vessels, as well as possible organs or organelles that would have to be defined in subsequent studies. Coming to the extremities, we can point out that there is a complete harmony and agreement between the joints and the wear and tear of the biomechanics of the specimen, which end in tridactyl hands and feet with 5 phalanges. This would allow them not to occupy the thumb as a position, but rather use 3 fingers in a wrapping manner to hold things. Here is one of the most outstanding and relevant peculiarities. They do not have carpal and tarsal.
I know a lot of y'all trying to figure out how I could just wrap 3 fingers around something and how it would. I'm gonna try it once the video over with. I gotta try it.
Muscle bones. The phalanges are direct to the bones of the arm and forearm, in addition to ending in a kind of nail bed for the nail, and that observation of microscopes we found fingerprints. This would be impossible to replicate. These fingerprints are of particular interest, since most specimens on this planet have deep or circular footprints, and the fingerprints of these specimens are completely straight and horizontally linear. Another peculiarity is that some of these bodies have metal implants that are perfectly attached within the skin and towards the surface, making a very impressive biofunctional fusion. These implants are the alloy of various metals, among which osmium and cadmium stand out.
Sound like Neuralink, don't it? Don't that sound like Neuralink? What Elon is trying to get implanted in people? Sounds familiar.
Which are currently used for satellite telecommunications. Finally, I will point out that the DNA analysis, after having been compared with more than 1 million registered species, we found that there is a significant difference between what is known and these bodies. These studies were carried out in various high-level institutions, both national and international, and the results gave evidence that 70% of the genetic material coincides with what is known, but there is a difference of 30%. If the human being, compared to primates, has a differentiation of less than 5%, and compared to bacteria, it has a differentiation of less than 15%. This would indicate that the difference found of more than 30% is something totally outside the parameter, and of what expected is foreign to what is described and known at this moment by human beings. These studies and results are published and available to anyone who likes to analyze them or continue them. We accept that there is still much to discover, and we are open to the scientific community and the world joining efforts to define what we are facing and how far we can go as a result of collaboration in a scientific and academic study. In conclusion, and for all the above, we can say that these bodies are from a non-human species that has irrefutable differences with what is described in the biology and taxonomy of the Darwinian species evolution tree, without a common or traceable predecessor, or without a descent and evolution still described. I can affirm then that these bodies are 100% real, organic and biological, that at the time they had life and are irrefutable evidence in themselves. We are facing the paradigm of describing a new species, or the opportunity to accept that there has been contact with other non-human beings that were
unfolding right before our very eyes, man. Right before our very eyes. And people are still in the denial stage. In the denial stage of what we're seeing. This is on the news, bro. Like, and I don't mean anything really, but they're presenting things. Pilots, highly decorated, coming out, talking about this type of stuff. Scientists bringing before you now biologics. Some people need for something to sit up and say, phone home or something like that in order for them to believe it's real.
Drawn and pointed out in the past in various cultures throughout the world, such as Peru, Egypt and Mexico, and that today we can accept their existence among and with us. Thank you very much.
And I think...
So, what do you make of this?
That's in the video, yeah. And I think that was a very important statement he said. Among us. They're among us. Not just watching us from afar. In the above the clouds or in space or whatever. Walking around possibly. Like you and me. This thing is going to continue to get interesting, man. Y'all let me know what you think. I'm gone. Peace.